Okay, we're inside in the lab, and what we have here is on an 86 Jeep Cherokee XJ. This sucker is the, let's see, what do they call it? Idle speed control motor. Not an IAC that you spray and clean and put back. This is the 86-85 thing. It's actually a DC motor. Here's that part. Here's the other part. The brushes are laying here somewhere. Anyway, in a gearbox right here. And what's happening is inside here, it's impossible to see, but the ribs that make up this, the laminations, are leaving a pattern that looks just like this inside the motor shell against the magnet. And so I'm getting all technical about it, but finally I figured out the obvious. If this focuses, you can see that this thing's tapered. This bushing here, it's got a bigger diameter here and a smaller diameter toward the end. Well, that smaller diameter compared to the diameter of the bushing inside of here is 50 thousandths different. That's why this thing's slopping around like crazy, banging against the magnet. Now the bushing that this rides in is like a 3 thousandths difference, so that's fine. So what I need to do is this bushing, it looks like it goes all the way deep inside the motor, so probably what I'm going to do is put it on the lathe and maybe cut it back to like here, and then add a new bushing to it, or better still, make a bushing that fits inside the motor here, the housing, press it in at the bottom, make sure it's nice and tight, and then the axle will just ride in it. This was the bushing bearing, whatever you want to call it, but it wore out because it had no grease in it. This thing has 0 grease in it. And it's, 1986, it's 31 years old, maybe even 32 years old. So the motor still works, it's just that it's mechanically so stiff, it's not getting the job done. And it's like a servo. It's a DC motor, but it goes both directions really fast. So it can adjust the idle, like when you turn on the air conditioner, it bogs your motor. This will turn and spin it up a little bit so it speeds the motor up. Things like that. So this is what they did before the IAC valves, which are infinitely cheaper, infinitely smaller. Well, sometimes they're cheaper, but not always. Anyway, this is for an 86, and this is what's wrong with it. So I've already greased and taken apart everything, and this ends up being the problem right here. So tomorrow I'll figure out, I don't know, I've got a 3-jaw chuck, and this is a 5-pole motor. If it was 6 poles, it would fit on every other one. So hopefully I can get the jaws to sit on here evenly and spin this nice and true, and then turn off about half or 2/3 of that. I suppose I could whittle on this thing and cut it with an X-Acto, but if I nick one of these wires, all done. Show's over. It's $40 for a new one off of eBay, up to $80 and more at the auto parts store. So I've got some Teflon. I think I might have some Delrin. If I make a tight-fitting bushing for the bottom of the motor housing that fits tight in the housing, and the shaft slips in nice, the Teflon will last a million years. This is just your basic, God knows what that plastic is, ABS, Delrin, whatever it's made out of. It's lasted real good on this end. But this end, it's not doing so good. So I think that's what we'll do. Cut this back. If I put it on the lathe, I can control it real well. Cutting that off, and then make a new bushing. What I did to figure all this out is I took different sized drill bits and stuck them in there, and this is a pretty good fit. You can see how the drill bit just stays, just sits there. I could get one a little bigger, but this gives me an idea of the diameter I need. I think it's a little over 2/10 of an inch. Well, it's way over. Oops, sorry. 220 thousandths, so I might need 225. Press it in really tight, and then maybe take a drill bit and open it up, ream it out a little bit so it'll fit this axle. You want it fairly snug. Anyway, that's the whole show. That's what I just figured out this evening. Gosh, it really helps when you don't have headaches. You can actually think. Anyway, so there it is. There is the core issue. If you have an 85 or 86 2.5 liter 4-cylinder Jeep, this idle speed control, motor speed being the key word, this is usually where they fail. Everything else is fine. When you do take it apart, be very careful of these brushes. Hard to see, and they will fly out. Here's the springs. You get two of them, they'll fly off. They've already done it. So it's a little bit of fun putting them back together, but they fit in those two side holes right there. That's where the brushes and the springs go. So anyway, this end is fine for the top shaft. It's, like I said, 3/1000 clearance. That's great. But I need to make another one for this one, and I think it will last a lot longer. $40 is worst case, but if I could get it done for some time instead, I'll make that trade. Okay, anyway, that's what we're up to right now. I'll let you know in the future how it goes, because I can't finish this until tomorrow. See you, bye.